The San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy got it done. No contract talks and clouds over the team into training camp. It is May, and Brock Purdy is extended a mega contract. We will break it all down on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker here, emergency pod style. We thought we were done for the week, but no, Friday evening, we're coming at you live, breaking down the breaking news of a Brock Purdy contract extension, 5 years, $265 million, what it means for the 49ers short term, what it means for the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy and the organization long term as well. I do want to thank everybody for making us your first listen and maybe your second listen today. Now, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And this is a good reason why you want to have the notification bell pressed as well, so you know when we go live, when something breaks like this. And Croc, 5 years, $265 million, $53 million per year for Mr. Irrelevant. 3 years ago, 3 short years ago, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft, and now he's got a $265 million contract, 5-year extension after this year. So that means 6 total years still that Brock Purdy will be under contract with the San Francisco 49ers if everything goes well. And 2030, he's your San Francisco 49ers quarterback potentially until 2030. And who knows, maybe there's another extension that's done before that contract even runs out. Croc, what do you think? $53 million per year, 5 years, $265 million. What were your initial impressions?
Now, I want to say, first, man, just great job by Brock Purdy, being the last pick in the NFL draft, damn near undrafted, right? And defying all odds, a couple guys had to get injured for him to play. Trey Lance, number 3 overall pick. Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy who went to multiple conference championship games and a Super Bowl for the 49ers, right? So he had to get those guys kind of out the way. And then he played at a level that made this not only a conversation, but kind of the expectation of him taking over this franchise and them shoving out Trey Lance, just shoving him out, kicking him out the door. So from the day he stepped on the field, he has been awesome for the 49ers, and he's played very well. And, I think now you see the contract. I know my initial thing was to look at the numbers. Okay, 5 years, $265 million. Okay, I'm bad at math, so let me pull out my handy-dandy calculator on my iPhone, and I did the math. Okay, $53 million per year. Nice, right? Nice. 53, that was roughly what we expected. Right now, there were some numbers that were thrown out, 60 million. Then you see some of the guys that are getting about 55 million or so. And then you and I talked about it once Josh Allen kind of signed this extension and they kind of average out to 55. It's like, well, you can't give Brock 55. And I know you and I felt more comfortable with like 45. And that's in like a perfect world. But in a realistic world, you knew it would land between $50 to $55 million per year. And then you look at the previous year contract. And this was one of the things I said on social media. Once you look at the Trevor Lawrence, the Tuas, the Jordan Loves, and see that they're making very similar money, and maybe even a little bit more than Brock Purdy. And at the time that Brock Purdy signed his, you're supposed to go up, right? It's supposed to be more the next year. That's what the market is, right? If these guys made X amount of dollars and they've done this with their team, then we expect our quarterback to get more than those guys. And that did not happen. It's less guaranteed money per year than the other guys. It's less money per year than the other guys. And this is at a time where you're dealing with inflation, because inflation, everything is going up. The salary cap is even going up. And the 49ers somehow were able to pay Brock Purdy a lower percentage than of their salary cap than all the other guys. So excellent job by the 49ers getting it done in a timely matter. And I'm pretty sure more details of the structure of the contract will come out, but they did an excellent job by all means with the structure of it as well.
Yeah, and look, this is the word from the agent, right? And so the first numbers you see comes from the agent side. And so whatever structure we hear from here is only going to look better probably from the 49ers side as we find out more about this contract, how much is actually fully 100% guaranteed, how much is not, when is stuff due. And but yeah, the initial impression, the first thing, like you said, Croc, good on Brock Purdy. It's awesome to see where he came from. And, we get ahead of ourselves sometimes. Like, oh, Brock Purdy's not perfect. Oh, he's not worth $53 million per year or whatever. And we're going to hear some of those things from folks that are fans of the 49ers and not fans of the 49ers and in the media. But the fact that, and look, this was going to be market value. And like you mentioned, with inflation, this is the number that it was going to have to come down to between 50 and 55. And I think we all expected it, and it was right in there. But for Brock Purdy to be the guy who the first time he threw a pass, he did more than any Mr. Irrelevant in history, right? Just stepping on the field and playing as Mr. Irrelevant, completing a pass is unheard of. For him to be in line to get a $265 million 5-year extension is phenomenal and pretty amazing. And we look back on the Brock Purdy story. It's only success no matter what happens from here because of what he's been able to do so far. And so good on the young man. And he's an easy guy to root for the San Francisco 49ers. You put your fandom aside, he's done just about everything right. And it's really cool to see him get that payday. And he absolutely earned it. And he was playing for well below market rate as a starter for the last couple of years. So when you factor that in, and when we see the structure, I have a feeling this is going to be a contract that looks fine for the 49ers. And he still has to perform. And especially with when it comes down to the long-term stuff and the end of his guarantees, he's going to have to perform in the next few years. And there's going to be less money for everybody else. That's just the reality. There's $50 million per year that could have gone to other players that will now not. And so can he elevate? Because that's what you pay a guy this much money to do, is elevate the rest of the team. So this story's not done being written, but good on Brock Purdy. He absolutely earned every bit of this extension.
Use the word elevate, and those were some of the comments I was getting tagged in about maybe not being able to elevate this from the situation that we saw the 49ers in last season. And because of that, people are trying to kind of knock him down and say that he shouldn't get paid. I believe this because we see this, right? He deserves it all. In the header, you put, is he worth that much? I think you deserve or you're worth whatever someone is willing to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
49ers were willing to pay him, $180 million guaranteed. So that is what Brock Purdy is worth. Now, there's going to be some people like others. Again, I won't say he's not worth something, but I know what I would have paid and what I wouldn't have paid. And the question that I had, right, or the what I brought up was, I think we used Sam Darnold early, like I think maybe even during the season. And it's like, hey, Sam Darnold's going to get $33 million a year or whatever. And is that what he ended up getting, like 33 a year?
I believe something like that. Yeah, close enough.
So the question that for me would have been, is Brock $30 million more per year better than Sam Darnold? Now the question is he $20 million per year better than Sam Darnold? And that right there, that's not saying that I don't think Purdy's good. I think Sam Darnold looked pretty damn good last year, right? And now people say, well, Sam Darnold was in a great situation. He's throwing to Jordan Addison and he's throwing to Justin Jefferson, and they had a run game with Aaron Jones, and the O-line was decent and the defense played well, right? And it's like, well, yeah. And when you have those things, you win a lot of games, and they won 14 games. So we found out that when Sam Darnold has a good supporting cast, he can put up 14 wins, right? Or he could be on a team that puts up 14 wins. And we've also seen the other side of it with Sam Darnold, where when he doesn't have that, it doesn't look as good. And I think we've seen both sides of the fence for Brock, and I mean, drastic sides, right? Where when he has everybody, man, it looks great. And we've seen them go to the Super Bowl and conference championship game. And maybe could have went to the Super Bowl in the conference championship game that they lost if he didn't get hurt. But we've also seen the other side of it where, man, some guys got banged up. There were some weird situations. Damn, you won 6 games? Like, that's a drastic drop-off. So I would have struggled to pay if I would have seen what Sam Darnold got paid, I would have struggled to pay someone $20 million more per year to get, I don't want to say similar results, because the 49ers team went further and they had more postseason success than what we saw from the Vikings. But that just would have been a little bit more of a struggle for me. And that it could have been Brock Purdy, it could have been Jared Goff, it could have been whoever, right? Baker Mayfield, whoever you want to throw out there, whatever name. Like this guy is getting paid right now. That's the guy we're talking about, Brock Purdy. So I'm using him as an example. But for any quarterback, if my team is loaded and you're good, and then I have some injuries, and then you're bad, and I'm comparing you to this guy who just got paid $33 million, I'd have a tough time paying you $20 million more per year than that guy. And that's just me, though.
So vibes are much higher in the 2025 offseason heading into the season and into camp than they were last year. What Brock Purdy has to do to keep vibes high between 2025 and 2030. Next. This bonus episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Gametime and the Gametime app. And I know there's 49ers fans out there after the draft now. Kittle extension, Purdy extension, schedule release. You probably want to find some tickets to the San Francisco 49ers. Well, you can find those tickets at Gametime, and you can get phenomenal last-minute tickets if you decide last minute to go one of these games. And you want to go to a game right now? How about the NBA playoffs, the intensity, the buzzer beaters? It's the kind of atmosphere you must experience live, that playoff atmosphere. And if you want in, Gametime makes it fast and easy to get seats, even for the biggest playoff games. Prices on the app actually drop closer to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, panoramic seat views, and no surprise fees. Gametime is a total game changer. And anybody who's in the market ever for tickets for sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, you got to have Gametime in your pocket ready to go. It's the first place I go to whenever I'm going to buy tickets, whether it's early or last minute to any of those events. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. One quick note about the money and some of the details that we know right now. It's looking like $181 million overall in guaranteed money. And according to Tom Pelissero, 165 of those guarantees are going to be in the first 3 new years of the deal that runs through 2030. But the extension year doesn't start until next year. So it's 5 years after this year. So 6 more years under contract for Brock Purdy right now. And Brock was going to be scheduled to make $5 million this year, Croc. So if you look at it that way, where you're giving Brock a new contract for the next 6 years, a $6 million extension with the $5 million left this year, spread over the course of that 6 seasons, $270 million. What does that come out to, Croc? Your $45 million per year. So maybe he is right in that place he needs to be, getting that raise he deserves now, and you spread it over an extra year. So that becomes sort of a 6-year, $45 million per year contract.
So we were right all along.
There it is. He got his 53, but it's really a 45. And that's what I'm talking about with structure. However you want to slice it, however you want to look at this thing, you can make it look a lot of different ways, and we'll find out what the actual structure is and probably learn some new details about this contract by the time we record again for Monday's episode. But vibes are high in 2025 right now, right? You're feeling better. I know free agency made 49ers fans fret a little bit. They lost a lot of players. They had 11 draft picks. You're in that high post draft, and you love the players that they brought in, and you're believing in all these guys that they can come in and make a difference for your football team. I love the comments George Kittle made about this very thing and about not having all of those distractions and all those holdouts and everything that went on last offseason. That's behind them. And getting the Kittle extension done, getting the Brock Purdy. This is May. I would have bet you a lot of money, Croc, that they did not get this deal done before late July at the earliest. They got this thing done in May, Croc. So very different offseason right now for the San Francisco 49ers. Vibes are high. Vibes are good. Now, what does Brock Purdy have to do to make good in 2026, 27, 28? Like, what does that have to look like? Is there a certain sort of, when we're looking back next year at this time, looking back at the 2025 season, looking at this, this next upcoming 2 or 3 years. And by the way, the 49ers are going to be able to operate. They've got a very expensive left tackle that they're not going to be paying in 2027, right? They've got some other expensive pieces. They've let some guys go. They've got an influx of cash. Interesting timing there, right? With the selling of 6% of the team, Croc. And all of a sudden, oh, here we go. Brock Purdy suddenly signed with all this extra cash we got. Here you go, Brock. Here's $160 million in guarantees here. So there might have been something to that, right? And then there's going to be some big contracts that do come off the books and allow the 49ers to operate. So they're going to be able to operate, but it's not like you're going to be able to operate the way they did when they had a $1 million starting quarterback, right? So it's going to be different. So what do you think that has to look like for this to be a really good contract? Not just feeling good that they got it done now, but actually when they're signing those checks and they're paying him over the course of the next few seasons.
I think you got to draft well. And the 49ers have done that. You look at some teams around the league and how they're kind of building their teams around the quarterback that they're paying a lot of money to. It's drafting well. It's adapting to, attacking certain schemes a certain way, having your way of going about things and how you do that and executing at a high level. So, and playing good defense, doing all of those things. We've seen it with Buffalo Bills. We've seen it with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like teams that, man, we got this highly paid quarterback. And, I was challenging my brothers last night, right? I was like, quick, who is Josh Allen's quarterbacks? 5, 4. Josh Allen's receivers, 5, 4, 3. I'm counting down. And it's like, you kind of struggle to name who his receivers are. And I think the 49ers, the more you draft better, you have guys that are playing well. It's like, oh, Ricky Pearsall, they got George Kittle still, like there's still weapons in place for the 49ers to be able to succeed even as they pay him. Now, George Kittle, how much longer will he be a 49er? Maybe he plays out the rest of this extension that they just gave him. But I think it's drafting well. You do that and you hit on a few weapons and a running back and a tackle and things like that. The running back they just drafted, Jordan James, in the 5th round. He ends up being good after, Christian McCaffrey inevitably retires and however long that is. I think that's how you continue to be good and build around Brock Purdy.
We're going to the chat a little bit here. SF Bay Drummer says, Brock has not seen the end of that contract. Let's be for real. You're probably right. There's a very low chance that he sees the end of it because either at the end of the deal, they think he's not worth it, and he ends up seeing some of those years that aren't guaranteed cut off of that contract, and he's released or traded at some point or restructured. But more than likely, if it goes the other way and he's really good, then he's signing another contract and extension before he sees the end of it. So I think you're right. For maybe different reasons than you think, SF Bay Drummer, that it probably is likely that Brock Purdy doesn't quite see the end of that contract because a lot of contracts don't quite just run out and that's the end in the NFL, especially for a good quarterback. That's just not the way things generally go in the NFL. Daniel asked, what's the salary cap looking like now? The 49ers are way under the cap to begin with. I think it was more about cash than cap with what they've done this offseason. And the 49ers are a team that like to roll over a lot of salary cap space too. So they're always going to have, it's going to look like they have more salary cap space than they have because they don't want to go up to the top of the salary cap because they want to have that chunk that they roll over to next year that keeps them in good standing again. And they keep rolling over, whatever it is, $20-30 million every year. That gives you a little bit more headroom and more to work with in the following year. So they don't want to go up against the cap because they want to be able to roll that over into the next year. Here's a good point by Bruce, and it was kind of brought up by you earlier in this conversation, Croc, about where salaries are going. The salary cap is skyrocketing. Salaries are going up for all the positions. You talked about $53 million this year versus someone who signed a $53 million contract in 2022 and how inflation changes that. And then by the same token, $53 million for a good starting quarterback in 2 years probably will feel like nothing.
And again, it's not 53 a year, it's 45 a year.
So. Oh, it's 45 a year. Yeah, we just established that as well. So that makes it, even nicer. Yeah, just round that off a little bit with the way they structured this thing. Absolutely. And that's one of the things you can do when you have a guy who's not a bonus baby. He wasn't a first-round pick that already was going to be on a $20 million, $25 million fifth-year option. He was barely getting up to $5 million. And that's because the league has this extra thing where it's like if you outplay then your $1 million contract as the last pick in the draft, they give you a little bump And so he was going to be making $5 million. And so they can use that $5 million, bump him up to where he needs to be. I believe somebody in the chat said it was $8.5 million reported is what his base salary or his cap hit is going to be this year when you fold in the signing bonus through all those years. I bet there's void years at the end too, to make that even flatter. And yeah, so he's really not ever going to make $53 million a year when you look at it that way. And yeah, when you look at inflation 2 years from now, what are the next great quarterbacks going to sign for? 60, $70 million? Like, we'll probably be there certainly before this contract is over.
I think they did a better job of structuring this contract than they did Jimmy Garoppolo's. And they structured it in a way that they could get out of it, but just in the sense of, like, at the time Jimmy signed, he was the highest paid quarterback in the league. And that's not the case for Brock. Now, again, get all the money you can. But I'm just saying, in the sense of what they gave him, it's like, no, we're not giving you the same type of percentage of the salary cap that we did Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you think that because it's essentially a team-friendly deal. Why would he take a team-friendly deal? Or do you think he had no choice?
I don't think
for somebody who hasn't gotten paid. Like, he wasn't Trevor Lawrence, who got drafted and made $40 million guaranteed and then got a new contract of 53, 54, 55 million a year, whatever it is. Like, Brock was the last pick in the draft. He hasn't really made a bunch of money. He had an opportunity here to really cash in. And obviously, I mean, it is amazing. I mean, he's not hurting for money at all.
I would say he did cash in. Yeah.
Yeah. But the team friendly part, because that's what, when you look at this and where he lands in comparison to other guys, do you think this was a choice of his, or the 49ers are like, this is where we're going with it? Like, we're not going above this. And they kind of play hardball with him and his agent for them to sign this deal that benefits the 49ers.
I think both sides, and as witnessed by this deal getting done when it got done, I think both sides were negotiating in good faith. They were actively working and trying to get a deal done. I think it's a huge jump for Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy's already experienced an injury and probably understands how quickly that could be deleted as well. And he wants to be able to go to practice, and he wants to be able to be ready for training camp without having to worry about a contract. And if he hasn't signed a contract yet and he's at camp and has one of those arm injuries, tears his ACL, what does that do to your payday? He still is under contract, so the 49ers could play hardball. He could play hardball, and this could go into like the Ayuk contract and the Bosa contract, and it could really hurt all sides. And in the end, I think he got a lot of money, and I think a lot of people still argue it was too much money. And so I think it was a great payday. He could have potentially squeezed out some more money, but I think in the end, it was about the right deal and about what you would expect he could and should get. So I really like this deal for both sides. I don't think either side got taken at all in this one. And now Brock gets a chance to prove he's worth all that money going forward. I want to end on this one from Silent in the chat. It says, while you may take the physical abilities of other quarterbacks over Purdy, you wouldn't trade Purdy's mental makeup for anyone outside of Mahomes and maybe Burrow. And I think that's pretty well said. And you're not paying for height. You're not paying for just a cannon arm with Brock Purdy. You're paying for a lot more than that. And sometimes it's a little harder to see. And everyone in the building loves Brock Purdy, and they're sold on Brock Purdy, and they had no problem paying him $53 million per year, I think is the bottom line. And he earned it. So good on Brock Purdy.
I think a lot of the quarterbacks that are getting paid have a terrific mental makeup, like Jalen Hurts. I think his mental makeup and how he goes about playing the game, and his, the way his teammates are behind him, and his leadership and how he conducts himself. He just won a Super Bowl. I think there are a few others as well. Jared Goff, I mean, what he's going through, the adversity that he's had to kind of deal with the situation with the Rams, taking over a Lions team that was in the dumps, getting it out of that and going to back-to-back conference championship games, or not back-to-back conference championship games, but conference championship game, number one seed like they did some really good stuff. So it's a great, I think it just puts Purdy in that conversation with the other quarterbacks who I feel like are really good, as opposed to saying I would only take Mahomes and Burrow over him mentally. Like I don't agree with that one.
You can feel the collective sigh, the collective weight off the backs of everybody who was going to be talking about this deep into the summertime. Brock Purdy officially is signed. QB1, 5-year, $265 million extension through 2030. Croc. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen. Thanks for coming back for a bonus emergency episode today. Make sure you're subscribed up on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. And Croc and I back Monday right here, Locked On 49ers.